You are now listening to the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Almost. Major. Holy fucking shit, this is major!
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Almost Major, where we talk about the many major studios and the films they release. My name is Kevin Tudor. I'm here with Bryden Doyle.
Hello.
Our great friend Charlie Nash is not here. He's trying to locate a 2-year-old boy somewhere in New York City. We're not sure why, but there's some really mean guys that are trying to tell him that he has to take him out. So our super special guest, returning guest, doing better movies than they were ever on before. Let's see. Yeah, this is better than The Limey, I believe.
We all fucking hated The Limey, one of the worst movies you guys have ever done.
Somehow, no, this is better than Confidence. That's true. From Letterboxd is Mitchell Beaupre.
How confident are you in that?
I'm not.
Hello, thank you for having me. Super stoked to talk about 2 movies I'm so glad I picked.
You went off the director and you were just like, he can't lose.
Movies that were like both this and the next one that we're going to talk about, like I have been on my watch list for a long time because they sound dope, and then I watched them.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
And that sounding dope but not actual movie is Perfect Strangers from 1984. This debuted first in the UK July 13th, 1984 under the title Blind Alley, and then in Australia September 13th, and then in the US November 16th, 1984. The budget for this was somehow $4.1 million. I don't know how. There's not a lot of action in it. There's no named people in it. There's nothing very wild in it.
Well, I think it's because that barbershop scene was apparently set in heaven itself.
That's right.
Given how much they were glowing. It does look like there's like a halo surrounding like one of the guys, but like you just like see him like sitting in a chair. It's so bizarrely lit.
It's like the whole movie's like super soft focus in like this really odd way that I was like, I don't even like existing in this movie right now.
It's not even like a fun, like, oh, this is dingy New York. Oh, I don't love it, but I love it. It's not like watching Maniac. Perfect Strangers, not like Maniac.
Yep.
You heard it here first. Opening weekend, I could not find, and domestic and overall gross also could not find. Top 5 films that weekend. Number 1 is Missing in Action, a Chuck Norris canon movie. Number 1 at the box office. We had it so well. Oh God, You Devil, which I believe is the 3rd in the Oh God trilogy. Again, we had it so well. Night of the Comet, The Terminator, and Just the Way You Are. This is a Christy McNichol rom-com.
Terminator, that sounds familiar.
That's the only one I don't recognize out of this.
Never heard of it. I have watched Just the Way You Are. Big Christy McNichol fan. No. Number 1 song in the U.S. this week is Wake Me Up Before You Go by Wham. Let me tell you something. That could
fit in this movie.
Yeah, boy howdy. Wake Me Up
when
in
they're
this fucking
bikes.
Movie. Yeah. And also the same song in Canada. Everybody had George Michael fever. Plot description from Google. A New York hitman played by Brad Wren has an affair with the mother, played by Anne Carlisle, of a boy who has seen him kill somebody. I feel like they're leaving out a lot of stuff, but honestly, that's pretty much it. Directed by and written by Larry Cohen. Prior to this, Bone in 1972. Wish I would have caught up with that. Black Caesar in 1973. Wish I would have caught up with that. It's Alive in 1974. I accidentally wrote down Todd Told Me To, and that's not the title.
That's that CBS show, right?
From 1976, God Told Me To, and Q in 1982. After this, The Stuff in 1985, which kicks fucking ass. He did the screen story credit for Body Snatchers in 1993, which also kicks ass. I wish that was a mini major release, because I just want to talk about Meg Tilly. Oh man, she fucking rules.
I was thinking, like, are you like a big Gabrielle Anwar fan? Like, I was like, I couldn't tell.
Welcome to the Burn Notice podcast, talking about Gabrielle Anwar all the time.
If we're doing the Burn Notice podcast and Clay Williams is not on it, I will somehow get sent a bomb in the mail. Wrote Phone Booth in 2002.
Yeah, Phone Booth pod.
Hold on, I'll get to your rewatch thoughts to that. And unfortunately, wrote Captivity in 2007, which is just
not Captivity Pod.
no, fuck no. Why did I watch that? I think I watched that before we did Saw, because I was just like, just give me all the sludge torture porn. Boy howdy, boy howdy. Mitchell, how was the rewatch of Phone Booth?
Phone Booth rules. Phone Booth was a nice palate cleanser after watching movies like Perfect Strangers and thinking, do I like movies or have I been wrong about this this entire time? Phone Booth still rules. I loved it when it came out. I love it now. I will say that Phone Booth does one of the things with Larry Cohen's stuff is like he does this sort of like kind of straightforward, like almost like exploitation-y premises, and but like bakes in some like social commentary throughout it. I feel like you get that a little bit more with this. You get that a lot with like God Told Me To, which I watched while I was watching, like right before watching this stuff, just to kind of get a little bit of vibes on him. And I feel like Phone Booth does that really well, where like it's like such like a genre like premise, and then you get a lot of really nice like social analytics in there of like how the different characters are responding to this really like outsized situation. And so I feel like finally, like I had seen that movie so many times, I had never realized that it was like from that he wrote it. He's the only credit on like the script for that movie. And then rewatching it again after watching a few of his directed movies, I was like, oh, you can actually tell that this is like a script that he would have written, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that only once. I've always needed to rewatch it. I got the Blu-ray for like $2 at a flea market. Just beautiful. Was going to watch it. I've only seen it when I watched it. It was a cam rip off of LimeWire in 2003. So one
As
of the
Joel
mini
Schumacher
movies.
intended.
One of the many movies I have only seen on cam rips on LimeWire back in like 2002 to 2004. We had it so well back then. Watching the what was it? The work print cut of Willard, the R-rated work print cut of Willard from LimeWire.
One of my like friends, who like I always ended up just like staying at like his family's house. They had like a family friend who was this like old dad who like burned cam rips of like everything onto like DVDs, and so like they just had like folders of like DVDs of like Collateral when it was still in theaters.
Oh,
and so we would like watch like a cam rip of that, and that would like we'd just be putting in the DVDs of like those, which yeah, I mean it was a nice time. I don't miss, or no wait, I do miss it. It was good vibes.
The funny thing is that cam rips, you would think in 2024 in the 2010s, 2020s, you know, that they would come a long way. Everybody's got like 4K cameras.
They've gotten
you try to
worse.
watch a cam rip today, they look worse somehow.
they've gotten worse.
I don't understand how. Back then, motherfuckers were shooting them shits on hit clips, and now they just look so bad. Because I allegedly was like, I'm gonna fuck it. I'm gonna watch a cam rip of Joker. I don't fucking care. And like half of the screen was casino advertisements, and it looked washed out, and it was in like 320p. It would have looked better if it was on Tubi. It was fucking awful. Yeah, need to rewatch Phone Booth. I'm desperately trying to find my LimeWire Letterboxd list. We can go to that if we. Oh shit! I found it. Blue Crush. Only seen that on a cam rip. What else? Rollerball, yes. I Spy. A Guy Thing. We all remember that. My Boss's Daughter. Darkness Falls. Godsend. The Big Bounce. Well, you were all there for the Big Bounce. Torque.
Oh, I watched that recently.
These all fit on a list together. These are all a certain aesthetic of film, I think.
Yeah, none of these movies are good.
You're
That's
capturing
the list.
an era here for sure. These are all ones that I got on like DVD or on VHS from like Movie Gallery, Video Scene.
Gallery. Wow. Yeah, The Hot Chick. I'm pretty sure I watched that like the cam rip of that like 3 times when I was like 12.
I think my brother watched that recently, along with like The Animal and Big Stand and other Rob Schneider movies. And
what's he going through?
Well, it was funny. He was
Rob
texting me
Schneider
like,
back in the news.
well, I think it was like he was like texting me. He was like, you know, because he likes a lot of those Happy Madison comedies. He was saying, like, Rob Schneider is kind of the fucking man. And then like I think the next day I found out the news about the terrible conference he did in Canada. I was like, I don't think he's the man.
God,
Yeah,
no. Nobody. The only person who watched any of Adam Sandler movies and saw Rob Schneider pop up for 5 minutes and we were just like, give him a vehicle, was Adam Sandler. That's it. Nobody at Sony was just like, I don't know, man. Let's hang a whole movie on this. What if you turned into a
Some of those movies were hits, right? The Schneider ones. I need to.
Well, Deuce Bigelow got a fucking sequel, like European Gigolo.
Yeah, when me and a friend in the summer of 2005.
European Gigolo, yes.
Yeah, we spent a day back to back. We in theaters. We saw Flight Plan, then Deuce Bigelow, European Gigolo, and then The Dukes of Hazzard. All
Holy
like in a row. Like did not leave the movie theater.
I saw that one in theaters, Dukes of Hazzard.
A bad time.
What's worse, that or our friend Tyler who saw If, Back to Black, and what was the other one in one day?
I think he watched Unfrosted on Netflix. I think that's what he did.
Yeah, that's
that's worse.
my worst one, which I think that might honestly still have me beat. My worst one is December 2016. I did Collateral Beauty, followed by Passengers, folled by Assassin's Creed. All like opening day of those.
You sound like you have
movies.
PTSD. You could call back the you were just like, what's worse? I know. December 2016.
Me just rocking in my seat.
I just listened to the this had Oscar buzz about Collateral Beauty. How did that movie happen?
It's like that of those three, that's like the best one because it's like such like it's just like flabbergasting how that movie exists. Like you think it sets you up to like think that it's one thing and then the reveal is that it's not, but then the twist is that it actually was that like insane stupid fucking thing that like the whole premise is like, what is it, they're pretending to be like angels or whatever.
Love, death, and I don't know. Whatever. Keira Knightley's love. Death is Helen Mirren.
Helen Mirren, classic. She's old. And then is Edward Norton the other one, or is he just his friend?
No.
He's just his
You know what, I
friend,
shouldn't chime in with this because I didn't actually see the movie, but the trailer makes it seem like that's what they actually are. But then, like the movie, it's like that's like the ruse. Like it's
the premise is like they're Kate Winslet's. Is Kate Winslet the other one? I can't remember who is what. But the premise is that like. Yeah, they are these like manifestations of these like spiritual ideas.
Jacob Lattimore is youth, I believe.
That's what it is. Okay, so
Yeah.
he's young. And so they like infiltrate Will Smith's life to like get him over the loss of like his kid, I think it is, that he can't grapple with. And so they're all paid actors is basically the idea. And then that's how the whole movie goes. And then kind of the twist at the end is that they actually are those things. And then the other twist at the end is this whole time he's been like courting Naomi Harris. They met at like a grief counseling session, whatever. They're like starting to develop feelings for each other. And the other twist at the end is that they were actually like they were married before. They're the parents of the kid who died, and like they this whole time were knowingly pretending to not know each other as like an attempt to like start over fresh or whatever. And they just like didn't reveal that to the audience until the very end. So it's like a twist that they like knew each other the whole time. It is an insane movie.
Listeners are listening, Bryden just brain exploding 9 different times.
The actors were the spirits, and the people were the actors.
It's exactly that.
Yeah. Well, it's like the way that they made it sound on the pod was just like Naomi Harris was like, I also lost somebody. I lost a kid who was 6 years old, and then everybody's just supposed to be like, huh, coincidence, huh? Okay.
Yeah. Yep. It's a lot. And so then I went straight from that into Passengers, which the whole movie is Chris Pratt like basically like sexually assaults Jennifer Lawrence, but we like
he's
are
like,
supposed
I'm
to
alone,
root
wake
for
her
it.
up.
Yeah.
Which the trailer did not reveal.
No, it certainly did not. And they're happily together at the end, which is intriguing. And then it was Assassin's Creed, which was fine. It was very, very bad, but not anything that was insulting to my spirit as a human being, I feel.
Which Collateral Beauty also, the trailer definitely leaves out a lot. Yeah. So you got, and then Passengers, that was supposed to be Will Smith.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I just finished for like the 9th time reading the book, The Big Picture, which is just basically going through just Sony Pictures email hacks and whatnot.
Right,
and just like how fucking by the end of it, they were just like, we need something besides Spider-Man, please. And they were just like, what about Passengers? And they were just like, didn't work. What are we going to do?
And they still haven't figured it out. Their new plan is, let's make Kraven the Hunter a movie and Madam Web. Is there any other movies that we can make about characters that are like kind of tangentially related to Spider-Man? Or
they got Bad Boys. Apparently Bad Boys is doing good. I don't know if you
they brought Ghostbusters back.
Yeah.
I've heard it's good. Bryden, good?
Yeah, no, I it's funny. I'm not like, I feel like I'm maybe not the right person to talk to about this because I don't really like Bad Boys 1, 2, or 3. So, but 4 was like a totally pleasant time. But I did see it also with my older brothers, and that was like a fun viewing experience. And that we were talking before we started recording about like seeing movies with receptive audiences and how sometimes, you know, laughing when like no one else is laughing is a bit bad, but the audience seemed like pretty into it, which definitely helped, I think, the experience. But no, I liked that one went down really easily. It also helps that I think it's, out of the 4 movies, the shortest of the Bad Boys series. Which
they're
like,
long movies generally, yeah, which is not
as homophobic, not as misogynistic as well. That was good.
I don't know, Bryden. You're not really you're losing me now.
It's just fascinating to watch or to listen to that again, to just be like, because in the 2000s, Sony was just killing shit. I mean, not a lot of movies where you're just like, oh man, what classics, but it's like they knew what the fuck they were doing, and because they just made movies, we were like, we have Will Smith and Adam Sandler, that's how we make bank. And every single time they made bank, and then people were just like, yeah, we don't care anymore. And they're just like, how about we reboot Spider-Man again? And they were like, no, we don't care anymore. And they're just like, there's an antidote about oh god, what is her name that ran Sony? Can't
Amy Pascal?
Amy Pascal, where she was getting a mammogram and trying to get the rights for Steve Jobs at the same time. And it fell through. And she was like, I'll fucking pay like $80 million. I don't care. This will make so much money. And then it didn't. Okay. Perfect Strangers. So yeah, let's get back. Collateral Beauty, check it out. I don't know. Starring.
Just to be clear, this is the first episode of our new show about the 80s sitcom Perfect Strangers, right? We're going to do it every episode, right?
It's all about Balky.
Yeah, that's right. Perfect Strangers is also a title. If you look that up on IMDb or Letterboxd, there's like 57 movies that are called Perfect Stranger or Perfect Strangers. Yeah. What makes somebody a perfect stranger? I don't understand that. I tried thinking about that. If I was doing poetry, just like in all she's all that, you know, maybe I would get into that. But yeah, I don't understand that title, and I also don't understand the UK title, Blind Alley. What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, if anything, it's more like Mute Alley, right? Because the kid doesn't talk, so it's like he's not blind. Nobody's blind in this situation.
And he does talk. He says "kill bug."
Well, we're told that he says "kill bug," right?
No. We see it.
We do. I don't remember.
It's in the scene when Stephen Lack from Scanners. He's the cop who comes over and like he has like all the photographs in his hands.
Hey,
like, the kids just
Bryden, he's the gay cop. Make it
right, of course. And he brings up all the photographs, and the kid is just like wandering around doing a bunch of stuff. And I think he like said he sees like an insect and he goes "kill bug" and it like stomps on it. And I thought for a moment, like, is this going to turn out to be like a Killer Kid movie or anything where it's like he's like a closet psychopath or something?
Honestly, Bryden, that would be way better if like the kid like became interested in the hitman and like got groomed by the main guy because he was interested and excited about seeing him do that. That's a better movie.
It was like
the killer says, we're not so different, you and I.
While he's bathing this kid, there's a whole scene where he's just like bathing this child that is not his.
He's just like, I know I killed somebody. I know I killed somebody, kid, but just don't.
We don't talk about that, right? You know how you never talk about things that you saw, like.
And that kid grew up to be William H. Macy in the movie Panic. That's right. Starring Brad Wren as Johnny Ross. That's a good mafia name. Prior to this, Smithereens in 1984. Listen to our episode. Fantastic movie. After this, Special Effects 1984, which we'll talk about next week. Uncredited in the stuff. And he was in A Return to Salem's Lot in 1987. And that's all he was in.
Can't believe this guy didn't pop off into a bigger career. People were not like banging down the door trying to get him into stuff. Crazy.
Yeah, not a John Cazale type career. Nobody's like Dog Day Afternoon, special effects. Yeah. And Carlisle as Sally prior to this, Liquid Sky in 1982, which I need to see. After this, Desperately Seeking Susan in 1985, Crocodile Dundee in 1986, and Downtown 81 in 2000. Wow. Also starring Stephen Lack and Anne Magnuson. Stephen Lack, maybe the scariest looking eyes I've ever seen. Also a bad actor. Does this New Line Cinema film have Lynn Shade? No, unfortunately. Trivia. Shot in 36 days. That seems like a lot.
That's long.
And, yeah. One, there's like 2 interviews on the Blu-ray. I was not going to buy the Blu-ray. But the only trivia I could find, and I looked through newspapers and reviews and shit like that, and did not find anything. But apparently in IMDb trivia in July 2024, this is hot off the presses, folks. Actor Stephen Lack revealed that the director Larry Cohen put him in a quote-unquote box while filming, stating that no other cast or crew members were allowed to interact with him. Why? Because he played somebody gay? I don't get it.
Yeah, I guess that the movie makes such a big deal out of him being gay as like a means to like show that he's like oppressed by homophobia within the unit or whatever, but it like there's no point in that existing. Like in the movie, it doesn't really like add anything.
No, he's like kind of just as shitty as the other guys like in the movie who are like saying like why like when like the woman like when Anne Carlisle was talking about like how her run-ins with her husband, he's like, I should just move and everything. Like it's like, okay, it's not that easy. Like it's
I love when he's talking to her and he's like, you don't even have a job, do you? And she's like, what are you talking about? I restore clothing and sell it to thrift stores. And she like that's like her thing of like shoving it in his face. She's like, I restore clothing and that's how I make my living, is selling clothing to thrift stores. Really,
I also like occasionally like protest if I feel like it.
That's an interesting scene where they're reading up about Larry Cohen. Like a lot of his stuff is like he implements a lot of like guerrilla kind of filmmaking, and like so like just kind of getting them on the spot. And there is what's the rally for that they go to?
Take Back the Night, Women Unite, I think is like the thing. But what I think this is like I don't know if this is like a joke that he was intending, but like you also see when they're marching or anything, like they're seriously protesting that, but then you also see like someone like is like protesting their own causes, like women against pornography, and it's like I feel like it's like, is that like separate from that? Like it's
somebody was like, oh, we're protesting? What are we protesting? Oh, I don't care. I got my own cause.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all the trivia I have. Not a lot about this movie. It did come out the same exact day as Special Effects, which we'll be talking about next week. I don't know how wide. I could not find anything about how many theaters either of them went to, so I don't know.
Yeah, I'm so curious about the construction of that as like an idea, and like, was it just like, did they just put it in like a handful of theaters as like a Larry Cohen like double bill or whatever? It's an interesting move for sure.
Maybe they put in like, maybe it was like one of the very first, what is it called? What's the company that'll put out stuff for like one night only in movie theaters?
Fathom Events.
It was an early Fathom event.
Perfect Strangers. It's not like, I think we could all agree it's not a strong picture. But the thing that bums me out about that the most is like, there is some fun stuff. Like a lot of this movie is like it reminded me of like Final Destination, and how many times that we're like watching this dude, like we're seeing him trying to piece together how in the environment that he's in, he can kill this baby and like make it look like an accident. Like there's this scene where he's like pushing the kid on the swings and the camera keeps focusing on this fence around it that has like really sharp spikes, and he's like pushing the kid higher and higher and higher. And it's like, there's a lot of little moments like that where it's like Final Destination, where it's like baiting you to like raise that anticipation of like, oh, he's gonna kill this fucking baby, and like this like inventive kind of way, and then it like pulls back or whatever. But I feel like one, it's not having enough fun with that. Like I feel like it's not playing enough into like the silliness of that, like the absurdity of it, and sort of like the carnal glee of like building anticipation for us to see like a kid die. Like I think that it could be a lot more entertaining in doing that. But also too, it's like plot wise, this movie, like there's plot in like the first 5 minutes and there's plot in like the last like 5 minutes, and like everything in between there, it's just kind of that. Like it's kind of just like repeating that cycle, and like it doesn't really, there's not a lot of like momentum to it, which I think for me, like I definitely found my interest like waning like a lot throughout it.
I don't understand the Mafia's rationale here. I know they're great philosophers and whatnot, but the fact that they're just like, yo, when this kid starts talking, he's gonna remember you. He's gonna remember where you live. He's going to be able to point you out. He's going to know all that. Just move to a different borough or some shit. Like, it's in New York City. Like, I don't understand where it's just like, oh, man, we got to kill that kid before he starts talking, because the first thing he's going to say is just, like, your social security number and everything, and you're fucking going down. And it's just like...
also, like, the easier thing is to just kill the dude. Like, like, if you're the Mafia, just kill the guy. Like, it's
like, you're so good. We can't have this happen, even though you killed somebody in, like, open view of other people.
It's not a good hit. Like, it's really not a good hit that he pulls off here at all. Like, many people could have seen him.
I don't understand that rationale where it's just like, so apparently if like a 4 or 5 year old, whenever they start talking, everybody's just going to believe that they saw somebody get killed and it's not just something they saw on TV or something. Like, I have a great first person witness. This guy.
This tiny little child who, like, I love I forgot that he says kill bug in it. I remember the scene where it's I'm gonna grab it. So it's Johnny and Sally are like having like lunch together, and he's like asking her like if the kid talks or whatever, and she's like, not really, like, you know, every now and then he'll put together some words or whatever, like sometimes he'll say kill bug, and like you see Johnny's reaction is like, oh no, he uses the word kill sometimes, he's gonna rat me out.
I do not understand. And it's not even the thing of, well, I also don't know, because the chemistry between the two is non-existent, so I can't even be like, oh man, I can't like move or anything like that, because I love this woman so much. They're the most boring fucking character. I mean, this whole movie is the most boring shit we've ever covered, and that is saying something. I am double featuring Ringmaster back to back before I watch Perfect Stranger.
That's insane. Come on.
I'm aware. Boy howdy, like it's not visually interesting. I've seen other Larry Cohen movies that look pretty dope.
I mean, the next one that we'll talk about is at least like, it's not going to be a great movie, but it's at least a little bit more. I mean, honestly, it's more compelling in like every way, like story wise, like character wise, but even like aesthetically, it's a lot more. There's a lot more going on. He's trying to do something, whereas this just feels like this feels like a rough draft of like, you know, a student film trying to just like kind of like show somebody like, hey, I can do the basics to like make a movie, you know, like something that like exists and that is like edited together.
Special effects feels like what you would expect a Larry Cohen movie to be. This feels 100%. Something that'd be on like HBO After Dark.
It feels like a Larry Cohen movie, but then with the H at the end. I don't know.
Yeah, and also like the poster. I thought this was like a legit erotic thriller, and that's what it says on Wikipedia. It is not.
You get
There's one scene, and it is funny. But yeah, and then like 5 minutes in, I was just like, wait, is this what this movie's about? This is gonna be nuts. And then it's not. But yeah, the poster of it with the woman with her back turned, you know, revealing her back with a knife at a window and a guy in the background looking all shady. I was just like, oh man, she's gonna kill this guy, which she does, but it's not what I was expecting.
Poster's tight. I was intrigued by the film just from seeing it. Like I bought, like I said, it's been on my watch list for a while. I bought the Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray a while back just based on the cover, and I was like, oh, this looks tight. The premise is cool. And then, yeah, very quickly, it's like, oh, this is mostly just about, like, this guy hanging out with this kid, the kid just looking at him with, like, dumbass kid, like, moon face, and him just being like, should I kill this kid?
The tagline for this makes no sense. When they get you where they want you, they can lead you ... anywhere. The fuck does that mean? Who is that referring to?
If only this movie had come out 14 years later, they could have put The Flies got you where I want you over the end credits.
When they get you where they want you, who is the titular they? Is it talking about Brad Wren? Is it talking about the mafia? They can lead you anywhere. Where is anywhere? Like,
Where are we being led?
her place? Like, it's not like he's like, oh, come here, I'll lead you somewhere. Like, it.
I like he tricks the kid into getting on this truck with like near the end with like there's like a merry-go-round on the back of this truck that he's driving, and he gets the kid
that's
to
pretty
like
dope.
hop on it.
That's a really cool shot when like the carousel's spinning, but the car is like clearly moving and everything. It is
Yeah.
like actually very disorienting.
I woke up for a little bit when that started happening. I was like, wait, what's going on here? This is kind of cool. And then he just
should've done
drives
more.
into an abandoned warehouse.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like maybe they were limited on budget, but like one of
They had
the Coen
$4 million.
movies.
Yeah.
I guess, but like
Did half of that go to Brad Wren? No.
I did, but yeah, you do expect this movie to get a little bit crazier, especially because I've seen some of Coen's other movies. Like The Ambulance was one I watched, and there's like some.
I need
I
to
think that's
watch
like
that.
that has some of the same stunt team as like the people who worked with William Lustig, who of course was like a collaborator with Coen. And there's like just some like insane vehicular mayhem in that movie and everything, where it's
Yeah.
like, my goodness, this is nuts, and you wish that this movie had done more with that carousel driving.
He's supposed to be like portraying like, oh man, unfortunately I have to kill this kid, but I can't. I guess likes his mother. I really can't tell.
And likes a kid, but like, I mean, you could make that an interesting movie, but Rin just does not have the emotional range to
No.
convey that. He just
Yeah,
is kind of
even-
samey.
even-
Putting a lot on him being able to like convey the like dilemma of the character in the performance, because it's not like he doesn't have anybody that he's talking to ever about like his situation. He can't be honest with anybody. He can't like, seek counsel from anybody really. And so like there's not a lot of like expression for him, so he has to capture that in the performance. And as we'll talk about here, as we'll talk about in the next movie as well, like he's
worse
a very
in special
limited
effects.
actor.
Disagree that, he's not great in special effects, but at least he's a little more lively in that. He like is like flipping
I
out a lot
think
more.
in
Yeah.
special effects, I think that his sort of like this like dullard quality to him and his like limitedness as an actor actually like plays a little bit well into the character of special effects, because he's like such like a cuck like in that movie. And so like I almost feel like the casting of him is a little bit better in that than it is in here.
He
Yeah.
only has like two modes. It's like mopey, or he's like flipping out and punching somebody because they're like, hey, guess what? I fucked your wife too. And he was like, you son of a bitch. But like any time where it's just like Eric Bogosian is just, well, we'll get into it. Let me do Charlie gave his little initial thoughts here. He said, let me try to hold on, let me do this.
Keep in mind, Charlie is dealing with a cyst right now. He is not seeing these movies under the best of circumstances. So any praise that he gives,
that's
just
true.
be aware.
He watched it and he was just like, people came together. This is fantastic. Let me do this in my Charlie impression. I wish this was Margaret. That's all I got. He said, goofy, dramatically flat, but feels like Coen trying to examine how everybody's trapped within a toxic patriarchal society that's constantly disrupted by violence and trauma. I mean, sure, he can try all he wants.
Special effects, it does. I would say special effects does that much better. Those
Sure.
things. Yes.
The politics don't always congeal in coherent ways, but it's clear he's trying to say a lot within silly, erotic thriller tropes. Don't think it works, but it's too bizarre and has too much going on that I find it kind of intriguing. He also said the same thing about Hannibal when I watched that movie, so if he was here to defend himself, but he's not. No. God, Hannibal's so bad. You know what's kind of a good movie? Red Dragon. I kind of stick up for Red Dragon.
Red Dragon's entertaining, at least. Hannibal is a snooze.
It is so bad. It's not good until like 10 minutes is left because like Ray Liotta's like, my brain's out. And I'm like, this kicks ass.
Yeah.
And then they're just like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to feed this guy to some hogs. And I'm just like, millions of people have seen this movie. What? No. But yeah, that's Charlie's initial thoughts on that. And he's also going through a lot. The police are trying to track him down because he's just stole this kid on a big carousel. But other than that, what else do we have to talk about? Perfect Stranger, other than why does this guy go around spray painting shadows? What's up with that?
Because he feels like he's a shadow. You know, that there's even a song that like explains it, right? Like,
yeah, very obviously. I'm a shadow on the walls of the city.
Yeah.
And then by the end of it, he spray paints him and another woman and a little kid. I'm just like, what is this?
he has the family that he never had, but it was all a sham.
Sure. Yeah, and the mafia guys are not interesting. It's not hard to make mafia guys interesting, and they're just like...
the haircutting scene, I think, is kind of funny when like he's like makes him pay for the haircut, but then is like saying like it's like you don't need to tip it or anything, and then he like says to his other guys, "You're next," and like he's making all his guys go through like this shitty procedure, where he's just like messing with them, but And they also don't seem to like him. I think it's funny when he's just like, you know this guy, right? And then like Johnny's like, hey, and one guy just like skulking in the corner is like, like they don't really like him. And it's also funny when the big blonde guy that like is going to be like replacement Johnny, that's Bill Fagerback, who voiced Patrick Star on SpongeBob.
Oh really?
What?
Yeah.
What?
That's a crazy pull.
Yeah, wild. My brain was so broken. I was watching it for like a second. I was like, this guy kind of looks like Harris Dickinson. I was like, wait a minute, no, that's Patrick Star.
That's hilarious. Wow.
But yeah, like even like like those guys. I mean, like you said, like, but it is like also the thing of like, why did they not just like they have another guy on display? Why couldn't they just like or another guy line up? Why don't they just kill this guy to begin with?
Yeah.
Like, to tie up the loose ends.
It's
like
so confusing.
Why doesn't this guy just like, I don't know, like cut his hair, wear a hat, and then just blend into, New York City?
He's actively making it worse by like romantically pursuing the mother of the kid, because it's now it's like, well, she knows you now, and like she can like be like, oh, it's kind of weird. It's so like, even just the opening of the movie is like, after the kill, he's like following her and the kid around everywhere, and she's like, she can tell that he's following her around, and she like she does the thing where she like turns around dramatically and is like, what are you following me for, whatever, and then she lets him hold her kid. Like,
that's what I wrote down too. I was just like, she is not creeped out.
Yeah,
and
this
just
complete stranger, is following you, and you're just like, he's like, can I hold the kid? And she's like, oh yeah. What?
Yeah, and again, I was thinking, that like there's that kind of like, I found a humorous like sort of low angle shot of him like raising the kid almost in slow motion, like sort of like throw this kid to the ground,
spikes the kid and then runs away. Like, job done.
And you pointed out, like, if the movie had like just sort of like kept like teetering towards that edge of like, is he gonna do it now and everything? And like having like all these like accents, especially because the kid's running around with knives and all these other things. Like, it's like just this kid being like a walking hazard and everything.
This whole movie could have been the Hot Tub Time Machine with Crispin Glover, like waiting for when he's gonna lose the arm.
Oh my gosh! I mean, yes, that would have been perfect. I would have given this like 5 stars.
Way better.
But yeah, it's.
And if the kid was played by Crispin Glover. It was just
no
like
explanation. It's just Crispin Glover like on his knees, like walking around.
Yeah, it's just like when that old guy replaces Lisa Simpson. Charlie's not here to get that reference, but it's just they cut to Lisa Simpson and she's just like an old guy smoking a cigar. It's just, hey ma, I don't talk right now, but soon I will. Yeah, the scene in the swing, which like you're saying, that's the only time where it's just like, is he gonna do it?
That's
is he not gonna do
scene.
it? And then. What is her name? Sally's ex-husband, who actually does steal the child at one point.
Yeah.
And it's just like showing her, it's like, hey man, you're swinging him too hard. Which if you when it gets to like a full shot, because there's some shots from the swing and whatnot, it's not that high. Yeah. Like, I mean, he's a little aggressive with it and whatnot, and then he just decides to just beat the brakes off of this guy.
He shoves him, and then like Johnny just beats the crap out of him.
And then Sally shows up, and is like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm hit the fuck out of him. She's like, you need to leave. And he's like, hold on, I got a few more punches in me. And then the cops show up. He's like, do you know this guy? And she's like, nah. And then leaves. Yeah, no, that is a weird scene where this guy just, like, you also, if he is like this hitman, we only see him kill one guy and only ever like see him do anything else with just this one guy in the first 5 minutes. He's not, when he's meeting with the mafia guys, they speak in their little mafia code and whatnot, where they're just like, that thing needs to get taken care of, you know? But he never does any other side missions, nothing like that. Nobody else is getting... So it's like the only other time that he is prone to violence, and it doesn't really scare Sally off, which is very odd. And then the ending where she somehow puts 2 and 2 by what my man from Scanners left those pictures. And it's the kid when he's going through the pictures, is it like trying to show that he points out the guy, and the detective is like, what'd you do to my pictures? I'm going to have to wash these.
Yeah, and then, like, he comes back, like, a second time with the pictures, and then, like, this is, like, and it's, again, there's, like, hints at, like, you know, I feel like Cohen does a better job of, like, planting the social commentary into, like, his movies. Like, this one, I feel like there's, like, a lot of just sort of, it feels like kind of window dressing, like, it doesn't really go anywhere. Like, the fact that, I mean, Anne Carlisle, I mean, you're, like, sympathetic to her just to some degree, but, like, you know, she, like, fingers like a black man, like, as like the guy who, like, you know, was like the killer and everything. It's like, so she just threw this like guy who probably who didn't even do this crime, like, under the bus and everything, just to, you know, fuck with this guy and everything. It's like a super weird moment that like the movie doesn't really have anything to say about it. I mean, among other things, there's one, I mean, like you said, with the Stephen Lack character, it's like the fact that he's gay on the he's like one of the few gay officers on the police force. It's like, that feels like that should be more important, and here it's just like, it doesn't mean
why
anything,
even bring it
really.
up? Yeah.
Well, it's the thing of, like, there's, like, 4 cops standing around, and they're just like, we could get so-and-so on the case. And they're like, I don't know, you ever notice how he's kind of gay? And they're just like,
Well, they say
no.
They send him over to the area because I guess there's a lot of gay people in the community. Is like, he'll do well with them and everything. And then they're saying, I wish he'd stay in the closet. Cut to the next scene of him being introduced. That's all we get.
Yeah, it makes those, like, he's also playing it up. Like, I think he's the reason that I think Scanners is, like, kind of fucking boring, because I don't think he's a good actor. Very emotive face, but yeah, he plays a gay cop with all the subtlety you would expect in 1984, like pictures in one hand, hand on a hip with the other hand, like, basically. But yeah, the ending, she stabs my man at the end, and yeah. What a way to go out,
and I guess, like, it's, like, just in trying to protect her kid. Like, I guess it's, like, it's showing, like, how all these people who try to, like, protect this kid in the process end up, like, just fucking him up for life. Like, that kid's gonna be messed up for life and everything. Like, the police can't help him. His dad can't help him. Johnny certainly cannot help him. Mom doesn't help him either.
Everything that has happened post Johnny murdering some guy in front of him is way more worse than him seeing something that he probably forgot like 10 seconds later. Like, he saw his actual dad getting beaten up by some random guy. He got stolen by his dad and ran through the streets. I want the sequel with that kid all grown up, like Kill Bill Volume 3.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's not just like the narrative, like, being like really inert, like not doing enough to exploit like the sort of like sort of tightrope act of like, is this movie going to follow through with like its premise of like a kid's life being in danger. Like, you do have like a lot of really flat drama and everything. And again, it's just like the actors, if they were up to the task, like, you know, the scene like where it's the husband and wife, or ex-husband and wife, meeting at the restaurant and everything. That's just like, I feel like I'm watching like the restaurant scene from Kramer vs. Kramer, but with bad actors. Like, it's just like, this is shitty. And like, I would rather be watching, and like, if I'm gonna watch a movie with bad actors, I at least like interesting stuff to be happening. And and like, again, like, the actors don't get like the comedy. Like, again, like, I don't feel like this movie exploits how like the dark comedy that like could be mined from this premise and everything. Like, I mean, there's the bit when like Johnny is like hiding Matthew in like his apartment, which again is like a thing. Like, the mere fact that he's hiding him in his apartment is like the only clue that we get to like, I guess he cares about the kid, but like the performance like doesn't really, it doesn't feel like the movie's done enough to earn that. But like and then like later when he's playing hide and seek for some reason near the end of the movie in that in abandoned warehouse, he like has like Brad Rinn has the line of saying like, "You're much better at hide and seek than you were at my apartment," and everything. And I'm thinking like, oh, that's like kind of a funny like sort of pissed off line where he's like saying, "Damn it, why did I like it? Why is this kid doing this when like doing this now and everything?" But like he like Rinn and a lot of the other actors in the movie, like they just don't really get the. I mean, they're just kind of like the flat affect for like for most of the movie, so it doesn't really like get exploited for like tension or comedy. Like it's just he's just kind of there, which is too bad. But I mean, I did like looking at it, even though like it is like does have like this weird sort of hazy glow to it, where like people look like borderline angelic and everything at times. Like it is, I do like a lot of like the it feels like the on location stuff. It does like lend a little bit of just sort of like. I don't know, just a little bit of texture to it and everything like that. When like even like when like you're like the guerrilla shooting, like with the I imagine this was like staged and everything, like with the actors like being coached and everything. But like the bit where like the father abducts Matthew. And like you have like the people like the mom has to like yell for like a little bit like for like saying help, someone's got my kid, before like a crowd actually converges and like intervenes and everything. Like it's like people are just, and then like once that's over, everyone just kind of like goes on with their lives and everything. And it's like it just sort of that sort of New York atmosphere of like everyone's got their own shit going on. This is like no one really cares or anything. I feel like there's something there. But again, this is like stuff I'm just like thinking about. I'm looking for anything on the fringes for this movie to be interesting. But I'm not making a good case for myself or anyone else, I don't think.
There's really good stuff like that in the hit film Phone Booth from 2000.
Yeah, and Phone Booth, I mean, for all that movie's flaws, that movie is 75 minutes, I think, when the credits start rolling, and it goes by like in a flash. So before like I could even really think about any problems with it, it's like, oh, it's over, great, perfect, in and out. Whereas this movie's 91 minutes and feels like it's
it feels a lot longer. Yeah, for sure. It does not move.
No. To finish this out, what's everybody's opinion on the filmography of director David Frankel from Collateral Beauty fame? We got some hot takes on Jerry and Marge Go Large. We got
Is that
all the directors?
Is that the Marley and Me guy?
Yes. Devil Wears Prada guy too. Also directed, I think, the Entourage pilot, if I'm not mistaken.
Devil Wears Prada's not bad.
Oh, Devil Wears Prada's great.
Hope Springs, I like.
What about The Big Year?
I
saw that in theaters.
Saw that one.
Oh, okay.
One Chance.
Is that the James Corden opera singer movie?
It is. Yeah. Okay, I remember seeing the trailer for that a bunch.
Was that a Weinstein movie?
Yeah, I think so. I remember it being like pushed down the calendar. Like I feel like I saw the trailer for it for like a year and a half because it kept getting moved.
Same here, my friend. Yeah. All right, now on to Morton Tildum and Justin Kurzel's filmography. We got to hit all the directors of those movies that you saw.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Almost Major. Please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. Please follow the pod on Twitter at Almost Major to keep up to date with what movies we will be covering in the future. Myself, I can be found on Twitter and Letterboxd at Kev Bonesy. Bryden can be found on Twitter at Bryden Doyle and on Letterboxd at J Doyle. Charlie can be found on Twitter and Letterboxd at CTNash91. Once again, thank you for listening.
If you're looking for more horror outside of the mainstream, look no further than Unsung Horrors, a podcast about underseen horror movies. I'm Lance.
And I'm Erica. Every other week, we'll cover a horror movie with fewer than 1,000 views on Letterboxd. We'll even give you double feature recommendations to pair with the movies we discuss.
From gothic to shot on video, from slashers to comedies, from giallo to J-horror, we'll cover all the subgenres. So join us as we unearth these hidden gems of horror.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at Unsung Horrors, available wherever you listen to podcasts. And part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Thank you for listening. To hear more shows from the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, please select the link in the description